Sean, while we're on the issue of religious freedom, is there any, I heard that there's a celebratory atmosphere in some of these occupations, some of these protests. Is there any drinking going on, and is there any kind of public affection as well, things that were seen as perhaps being encroached upon by the Erdogan government? Is that happening, and what role do you think that will play, a constructive or a negative role in any future organizing that occurs from these protests?
Well, I'd say that from what I've seen, there is a kind of a passionate energy to Gezi Park right now. It's a wonderful place to be. It's a warm place to be. It's a kind, gentlemanly atmosphere where, I think you would see much more of an open, whether or not it's open sexual behavior. Although I don't see people, going overboard or anything that would be considered uncomfortable behavior by traditional Turkish standards. Definitely, there's more. Well, it's much more of a relaxed environment.
I know recently that there was a protest near a Turkish metro stop in which people made out publicly as kind of a protest against what they appear to be, I guess, maybe the bully pulpit of the government, saying that is inappropriate. And there were some counter-protesters, but luckily the police protected them from sort of these sort of religious type guys that were offended by
coming in, right, and attacking them. I mean, yes, I would say this, that in opposition to the pressure of an Islamist government and an Islamist mentality, certainly Gezi Park and Taksim Square right now, and this is much more open. For example, last night, 3 in the morning, I'm walking home or walking to the hotel I was staying at downtown here, and there was a huge number of kids that were out drinking on the street, drinking outside of bars, and that for the last year has been totally, really for the last 2 years has been squashed by the city municipality. So the fact that they're out there doing this is a sign just in itself of revolt and resistance. So yeah, I mean, and I think that's one of these protesters' complaints is, I've talked to women who said that they were having trouble getting the morning after pill. I've talked to other.
It really sounds like Republicans now.
Well, it does, and
We're
I
still
think
fighting over
when
the
you
morning after
when you
pill.
look at the issue of the similarities, and a good study would be the similarities between, for example, this Fethullah Gulenist movement and the movements of the evangelical right in the 1980s supporting the Reagan administration and the first Bush administration, and then later on the second Bush administration. I think that there's a lot there, and clearly the Gulenist movement and the AKP have taken lessons, and I think earlier our friend he was talking about how this movement of AKP had taken lessons from individuals within the United States, media groups, politicians, certainly conservative politicians. This doesn't, this process of neoliberalism mixed with an Islamist or conservative religious ideology certainly isn't anything new. And the fact that they've successfully applied it in an Islamic context is special. But beyond that, it's not as if there weren't earlier precedents. But yeah, so clearly, the same way you would see individuals reacting against strong evangelical values, in the United States, you might be able to make some kind of argument that a similar thing is happening right now in downtown Taksim, downtown Istanbul, and in some of these other points of flashpoints of protest and conflict and resistance in Izmir and Ankara and other cities in Turkey.
So I want to round things out, and I want to do that first of all by announcing, of course, just the latest news on this, which is that at this point, public workers, the Public Worker Labor Union Federation has announced a general strike for 2 days, and I believe those public sector workers are now on strike, and that certainly adds a component of labor cooperation that, as I understand it, we had not previously seen.